Hey guys, it's Aaron Chand here with the Jameson team at Likely Real Estate. Happy Friday. I just thought I would hop on here just really quick for, like 5-10 minutes, just to talk about the housing market and how we are in, a time of change. So if you are someone who is interested in real estate, is, looking to buy a home down the road, you're probably aware that one, interest rates have gone up, and two, the market is starting to cool off a bit. And you're probably thinking to yourself, what does this mean? And what should I do? And should I panic? The answer is don't panic. We're going to talk about just some facts, some statistics, and just go over as much as we can. So let me share my screen here. So first graph I want to get into is this one. It's the house price index for Florida since 1975. And a lot of you are probably familiar with the crash that happened in the mid 2000s. Biggest housing market crash in the history of housing markets ever to be known. So yeah, they crashed, and it was really bad for a lot of people. And then they, started to correct themselves in the 2010s. And in 2019, they were back to what they were when we had that super big crash. 2019, we all know what 2019, COVID-19, pandemic happened, and it, with the pandemic, brought a huge increase in demand in real estate, specifically in places like Florida. We had a huge influx of people moving to Florida, wanting to buy a home, and also millennials reached optimal home buying years, they say. So they were at a point in their life where they were ready to buy a home. They wanted to buy a home. And yeah, so that brought like the craziest market growth we have seen in a really long time. And a lot of you who tried to buy a home, maybe bought a home, or were buying a home in that process, probably in that time, probably remembered, a house goes on the market, you got to see it that day, you got to put it in an offer. You're competing with like 30. The most I ever competed with was 38 offers. 38 offers. And it felt like, you were just fighting everyone for a house, and you had no time to think about it. You had to waive all sorts of contingencies, no appraisal, no inspection, and it was just absolutely crazy. That, for me, was unsustainable, not fun, and impractical over a long period of time. I much preferred the market that was pre-COVID in 2019, where things were still looking good, but not necessarily as crazy. So 2022 comes. We're coming out of the pandemic, and the housing market, as of like literally this month, has started to adjust, and things are staying on the market a little longer. And it's there's a number of factors. One is interest rates. We're going to talk about interest rates later, but interest rates have been on the rise. During the pandemic, they were at the, like the 2 to 3s. Now they're at the 5 to 6s, which is, pretty much double what they were, which does affect your buying power. And it's always nice to pay less interest on a home. You're paying more towards the equity of the home, and it just feels great. Doesn't mean that even though the interest rate is 5 to 6, doesn't mean there won't be options to refinance down the road. So now this month comes, we start to see a change. What is that change? Well, you put a house on the market, and 7 days goes by, and you're not under contract. Now think back to pre-pandemic. Is that bad? Not in the slightest. The average time a house would stay on the market before it was sold pre-pandemic was 30 days. That's a healthy time period. It gives home buyers a chance to go and look at a house, see a house, talk to your family about it, talk to your spouse about it, talk to whoever you want about your house, think about it, crunch the numbers, and not feel rushed to just throw an offer out that's way over asking, way of all these contingencies, and not be able to make seller repair requests. You're basically just at the mercy of the seller. And so it really sucked for a lot of home buyers because it was really frustrating to walk into a house, just fall totally in love with it, and then find out that there's already 10 offers. So we're at a point where offers are starting to decrease. Now, that doesn't mean 38 offers, but it might mean 5 offers, 4 offers, 3 offers, even 2 offers is great. And all those offers are typically around asking price, which is really nice for home sellers as well, because they're not necessarily having to sell at under what they want or at a loss. Um, so that's home prices. We're entering a healthy stage of the market. This is where it needs to be to grow even further. It's a good place. It's a good place to be, and we don't need to be afraid of that. Now let's talk about interest rates. So the Fed decided to raise the interest rates by three quarters. Sorry. Here's what happened. So the Fed increased their interest rate earlier this week. We all thought, the interest rate's going to shoot up. That's what the news told us. It actually went down. It was at the sixes earlier this week, and it actually, as soon as they released that, it went down to the 5.5s. And this is Chase Bank. You can get better interest rates at places other than banks. Not saying banks are bad, but that is possible. So this is Chase Bank, 5.6. And that's the interest rate. So it's not necessarily a bad interest rate. Keep in mind, interest rates used to be like 20%. Obviously, they're not going to get there, but they do fluctuate over time, and you can refinance later down the road and get that interest rate that you wanted. So you're probably thinking, well, Aaron, if home prices are really high and they're starting to go down a little bit, and the interest rate is really high, why don't I just wait until it crashes to buy a home? Let me tell you, everybody in 2020 was saying the exact same thing. They were saying the market is overvalued. Let me wait till next year to buy because it's going to crash. We don't know what's going to happen in the market. We can just study the facts and the statistics. Looking at this graph, there is market change, but sorry, not that one. There is market change, but it does, if you drew a line through this, you would have an upward trajectory throughout the course of home buying since the 1970s. Look at this graph, which is the median rental rates. Even between 2005 and 2010, there was no dip at all. In fact, rent went up during the time when housing value went down, and rents have consistently gone up, and they go up pretty much every year. You get hit with a rent increase, which is no fun. And even though the interest rates are high right now compared to what they were in 2020, let me ask you this. What's the interest rate on a rental? Pretty much 100% if you think about it, because all that money that you're paying monthly in rent is not going towards equity. It's not going anywhere. It's just going into the pocket of the landlord, and he's keeping it for himself. And, you're not making any money by renting. You're throwing it away. It sucks. I understand that people are there, but the goal with renting should not be to rent indefinitely. The goal with renting should always be to rent until a point when I can purchase a house or a property. The other thing with that is, you're pretty much there's two, this is what my team lead says. There's two things you're doing. You're either paying your mortgage or you're paying someone else's mortgage. Would you rather pay yours or someone else's? And most of you would say, I'd rather pay my mortgage than just someone else's mortgage. And rent typically is usually more expensive than the mortgage you would have on the same property. So I just say all this to say, I know it's a scary time, and a lot of us are probably worried about what the future holds, but this housing market is not in a detriment state. It is headed towards a healthy state where home buyers have a better chance of getting a house, have less stress on their plate, and are able to think about the purchases they're making, and also have more power on their side and more leverage than than the sellers used to, with making repair requests, with having to pay way over asking, waiving appraisals, all sorts of contingencies being waived. We're going back to a healthier point when both the seller and the buyers were protected, and weren't necessarily having to give up so much to get what they wanted. Um, so I'm really excited about this period that we're going into. If you have any questions at all, please let me know. You can call me on my number, 727-657-1328, or you can DM me on Instagram. I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have. And yeah, super stoked for this time period. If you are a home buyer or know someone who wants to buy a home, hit me up. I'm always available 24/7, 365 days a week, except maybe at 3 a.m. when I'm sleeping. But other than that, if I could take your call, I will. Have a great weekend. Happy Father's Day. Yeah, enjoy. And I hope this was helpful. Take care.